Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened as I said it would. People will be. Oh, when have we got Leeds? Then people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show, and I'm really looking forward to tonight's video. I think it'd have had more of a query type. Well, is it good? Is it bad? When I originally thought about it, because this was scheduled before Parag's interview, and Parag has, to be fair to him, come out and shared a lot of information that can be perceived as putting a lot of fans' minds at rest in regards to some of the stuff that we were quizzing over. Listen, there's 472 people now. That just went like that. Already here. So big up to everyone. Please smash a like on the video. Subscribe to my channel, Lockie, Joe, and Luke. Ought to know better. Leeds United The View and Lockie Leeds. Obviously, Andrea is just here, there, and everywhere. So yeah, make sure you follow him on Twitter. Look, I did share this actually with Lockie and Andrea just before we came live. But there is a post on Wacko, and again, it might be like tongue in cheek, but there's genuinely a post on Wacko that says that Leeds United YouTubers have been paid by Red Bull to push the positive narrative. I don't know if people are aware of that, but I'm skint and need a car, so if Red Bull do want to give me some cash, I'll send you my bank details. Like, genuinely, this is something that...
£2.61 a month.
Yeah.
I said it on mine just before this. If Red Bull want to sponsor, they're more than welcome to sponsor. I will take that cash, but I can guarantee you for a fact I'm not getting a penny. What I would say, Nacho, is if you want to push the positives, you should. But I would say the negatives and the concerns that people have should still be stuff that Leeds fans keep an eye on going forward.
100%,
but that doesn't take away from the positive stuff that is there. So it's there's both sides to this.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I wanted to do this video, rather than just me talking. I wanted to get all of us together and, have a chat about it and see the positives and negatives and debate them things. Ryan Paula Higgins, member for 2 months, done a deal with the devil to push for success. The money we receive versus the total cost of the West Bromwich Albion squad, it really shows the size of this deal. Yeah, you say devil though, right? So this is the point. We need to squad. Is it the devil, isn't it? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? That's what we're going to be chatting about this evening. What a lineup again. Yeah, exactly. Luke, the bucket hat and Tash, ain't it? He says. I think it is. I think it works.
No, I'm rocking it, man. I'm rocking it.
Yeah, exactly. Red Thunder out, Red Bull in. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm getting that money from them, man, so that I can get some product placements going, man. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, right. Let's get into it. Andrea, I'm going to come to you because I've seen our WhatsApp group. You've been on an up and down emotional roller coaster throughout the day. So I'm going to come to you first. From when it was announced to where you're at now, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings about the new Red Bull venture?
Okay, for me, it should be analyzed in two parts, On the business side of it, if you look at it, it's a great deal in terms of money, in terms of exposure, in terms of commercial. You get, one of the multi-billionaire corporations into the club. I saw some videos today that I watched in the past. I rewatched it, they have huge income, only second to Pepsi and Coca-Cola, probably. So we're talking about a giant, literally a giant. If you look at the business side of it and the sponsorship, it's great. And it's also great for the fact that even Red Bull should be divided into the business side of it and the football side of it. If you ask me, are you a fan of the business and the football group of Red Bull? I say no. I am completely against it, 100%. I know that the new word in football is like conglomerates and even bigger groups, like City Football Group, 777 Partners, that they have some problems right now at the minute. There's also, for example, Crystal Palace with the John Textor and Lyon, and of course the Red Bull Group. I was never, and I'll never be a fan of the Red Bull Group, honestly, because what they did, it was, especially in Salzburg, there was a club founded in 1933 called Austria Salzburg, one of the giants of Austrian football. They played in the Champions League in the 90s. They were called Casino Salzburg for a while too. The purple was their color. They were taken over in 2005 by Red Bull, and Red Bull changed everything. And Mateschitz Dietrich, the founder of Red Bull, said at the time that this is a new club. So all the history, they were even reprimanded by the Austrian Football Federation because they changed on the website foundation year 2005. No, the license is still the same, So basically, what they did was taking over a historical club, and they changed the colors. They changed the name from Austria Salzburg to Red Bull Salzburg. The fans were mad, absolutely. They founded a Phoenix club like FC United of Manchester, the same for Austria Salzburg, The real fans went to Austria Salzburg, the new one. The other ones, because you play in the Champions League, you win the leagues, you dominate the Austrian scene of football, they stayed. And even in Germany, what they did with RB Leipzig and Red Bull Bragantino in Brazil, I'm not a fan of it. So about the project, I'm not a fan, absolutely. If you look at the football side of it, in terms of personnel, in terms of scouting and recruitment, they're one of the best. One of the best in terms of scouting, recruitment. Their system, Ralf Rangnick was one of the great minds they had. They contributed to Julian Nagelsmann's career. They had Marco Rose, for example, as a Nuttall. They discovered many players, Sadio Mane from Metz, Holland, Šeško, Szoboszlai, Simakan, all those players, So if you ask me about the football inside, yeah, they're one of the greats. It could be very beneficial for us. We have already, for me, 3 good professionals in the football side of it: Steinson, Hammond, and Jordan Miles, of course. But the confrontation, the dialogue with the Red Bulls, the football department of scouting and recruitment is beneficial for us. On the business side of it, I'm looking also at the fact, after reading Parag interview, Parag Marat interview, he says, I'm the one in control. The stadium name won't be changed. They are minority and they don't have the right to take over like we did with Radrizzani. They won't change the colors of the club because they don't have the power to do that. Okay, this was very assuring, 100% assurance for me. But Parag, let's remind this: Parag is at the head, is the chair of an investment fund, an investment arm of 49 Enterprises. In the end, with that interview, he put a lot of pressure on himself, and I really like that, because he said, I'm the one in charge. I'm the one calling the shots, I'm the one responsible for the management of the club, how the club is run on the football and the business side of it. But let's remind that 49 Enterprises have tons of investors. And if the investors are not happy with how the club goes in the future, they might even in the future, I hope not, because I really like how Marat leads the club. Honestly, for me, he's a very good individual, professional. But if things are not going well for them in terms of their investment, protecting their investment, they may even change the head and the chair, of the investment arm they're part of. And in that case, their opinion might change, because Parag is speaking for himself in this case. I'm the man in charge. I'm the one calling the shots, But if, let's call it like 3-4 years, Parag is not the head of 49 Enterprises anymore, and really not, because he's very good for me. If there's another person, they might change their stance with it, because when Red Bull invested in the football clubs, they always took over. They've always taken over. This is the first investment where they are a minority investor. They are a minority investor in RB Leipzig too, on paper, 49% with the 50+1 rule, but they have like 13 members.
Different.
Just let him finish.
Sorry.
Go on.
No, it is different.
But yeah, it's different. They have 49% there, but because the members of the club in Germany, they still have the last say. There's like 13 members in RB Leipzig, and they are all linked to Red Bull. So they are the exception in Germany to the 50+1 rule. So Jerry, if you want to intervene, I may. If you have one question of.
No, I don't. I wasn't trying to be argumentative. I was just making the point of the ownership models are a very different structure of model. It's not a single ownership of percentage this and percentage that. The 49 Enterprise own the totality of the club, and then within that, there are investment pools of different significance, and they're in the bottom level, the minority level of that, which means they have no seat at the table. They have no voting rights. They have no power over decisions being made. It's a very different structure than a single owner or a fan ownership plus another owner there as well. Then for me, they're not comparable ownership models. That's the only point I was trying to make.
Yeah, no.
Outside of nothing else you said, and again, not trying to be argumentative, just there's clarity on that point needed.
And you were right to clarify that, because of course there are two different things. So what I meant about the fact that the investment arm, there's a large group of investors like just said too, that maybe in the future, if the head of the investor, so the one that is managing the fund, Parag, changes, and another person comes in, things might change in the way they administer, they manage the fund. Right now with Parag, I'm very short, absolutely. But looking at the history of Red Bull, when they invest in a club, they always taken over, So honestly, I was thinking in the Prague interview, okay, this is very great for us because they bring a lot, being this sponsorship. It's very beneficial for the club in terms of money exposure, the dialogue with the football, the scouting or the recruitment department, if there's this possibility. But what is the benefit for Red Bull? Just a sponsorship? Then that's the question that keeps hanging in my head right now. Is just a sponsorship for them?
I hear what you're saying. Like this, yeah. I agree, and obviously there's, in terms of what's in it long term, right? I hear what you're saying, Andrea. Before we get into that, yeah, I get that. Before we get into it, obviously, you've gone through the reasons as to why maybe why there is a lot of dubiousness around the deal. I know Parag has sort of quelled a lot of that, even for me as well. But Lockie, obviously, I know you've done a video on the other stuff. I just wanted you to come in and give us, not so much like, Andreas give negative, you give positive. That's not what's just happened. But I know you've obviously looked at the structure behind, that whole name change and that, and what they actually do in terms of development of football teams and stuff. Like, do you want to just give us some stuff around that?
So, probably naively, the first thing I thought of when I saw it was initially, we're going to get some players from this. We're going to have a structure there that can attract some of the best players, as opposed to, fighting off competitions. I'll get into it. So the first one is it's a scouting network they have. One, it's absolutely huge, like bigger than any, I'd imagine. They have scouts in every continent, in every competition. That's what's key. They're at the African nations like under-19s and they find gems there. They're really good at networking in terms of scouting. They will find gems. And that's why you look at the Salzburg side and the Leipzig side. Look how many African players are in there. And look how many them African players they sell on. And generally the amount of players they get in that you might not have heard of, in 1 or 2 years later, they've sold them on and they're going for 30, 40 million. Like the way in which they find talent, and not only find talent, but because of kind of this thing they built, this idea that Red Bull finds young players, that's echoed across football. So say you're a young player and you've got a choice between 2 or 3 teams. If that team is related to Red Bull, that initially has that, well, there's more evidence than any other team that Red Bull model can push you on to bigger things, right? It can give you a stage, and the facilities that they provide are a joke. So, and this is important to me because I look at the kind of scouting network in the UK and in Europe, and right now in the UK, because obviously we're in the Championship, so we're not really looking for Europe that much. And you look at the competition we have, geographically around Leeds. You've got obviously Manchester. With that, you've got the City Group, who get all the best players around you, right? If they want them, they'll get them. We saw that with Finlay Gorman. If they want a player, they will pay and they will get him. Now, what this does, and this might take time, let me clarify that. What this does, and if you apply the model that they do use and you do recruit in the way which they want in terms of youth, and you get some of their scouts and their technology and their infrastructure, you are a competition to that. That will help bring in players. It will. And this is proof of how they managed to build it the first time. They took these, in terms of Leipzig, a small side, and they did really invested in this scouting network to get in these young players and grow through that and make profit through that. And that's important to me because it's so hard in this country. You look at the academy size. I watched the youth academy, the final, the FA final, and we were unbelievable. Every player tried their hardest, but Man City's players were an absolute joke. And that's because they have the City network, right? The City network that's global. Yeah. With this, if you have these people behind the club working on recruitment, it allows and it attracts players to your club because they know what the Red Bull name can do for young players. So that's something that's important to me in terms of scouting. It's giving us a slightly higher platform and making us more competitive. So when we do go to the Premier League, or even now, if we want to keep a young player and we can use our network, and then this other side of that is the performance side of it, the infrastructure they have in terms of performance. So they are probably the leading, are they a sports brand? What brand are they? They're probably the leading brand for technology in terms of advanced technology to help athlete performance. They are insane on it. You know, look what they've done in F1. Look at the hires they've made in F1, the people they have. And that's key for me as a young player, again, who's looking to develop and come into a club, looking at an infrastructure or a training facility that is at the state of the art, that will attract you as a young player. You've got experts within that training facility who you know have a track record of improving things and are known in football. And that's key for me because, again, looking at who we are and how competitive we want to be with these big teams around us, these big cities, we need those edges. And I'm just thinking if there was one thing that Red Bull did, or the owner did allow Red Bull to take over, for me, that would be the training facility, into making it a proper, unique training facility in this country that can attract these young players. Because Thorpe Arch is good, but it isn't anything like the City. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like the top ones, Tottenham. And we want to be a part of that, because a big part of the model is recruiting young players, and that's huge in any sport. And to add on to that as well, I've just got some notes here. So basically the way it works, football teams are doing nowadays is they're hiring experts externally and bringing them into the club. We're part of the Red Bull model. If you can share contacts, there's experts in F1, snowboarding, all these types of sports that you can bring into football and bring their expertise, right? So you have that there. So it's all about the infrastructure, what that means for the club, how that can attract players, how that can beat off competition. And if you've got, if you're in the Premier League and you're fighting to get a player that maybe might want to play in Europe, and you've got that training infrastructure behind them that, look, we can bring you in for 5 million, and then in 2 years' time, we'll sell you for 40 to a top club if you really want to go. They've got that track record. So, yeah, there's so many different aspects in terms of performance that I absolutely love about this. Of course, there's concerns that other people will speak about, but in terms of performance and athlete performance and attracting players to the club, if they are allowed to have the reins on some of that, or they discuss that with the club and we can use that, that will help us massively in terms of bringing those players in.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, I went on.
No, it's great, mate. I hear what you're saying. Like, when you look at it, I mean, they've got like 4 or 5 football teams. They've got 2 red F1 teams. I see NASCAR. They've got so many fingers in all sorts of pies.
Space.
Yeah, exactly. I seen that in the comments. Someone jumped from space, for God's sake. So yeah, maybe that'll be next halftime show. Just jumping down into Ellen Road. Joe, you reacted earlier on, like myself, to some of the news. How's it been for you? Obviously, initially we spoke about it briefly last night, right? Just on the show, and then this morning it just went bang, and then we heard from Parag, which I'm really glad about, because it has stopped a lot of. We needed to hear from them, right? It was the right thing for him to do, to say, look, I'm going to have to do this interview now. And I thought he spoke really candidly in it. What were your thoughts on it?
I like the direction Parag is going with a lot of things. He said earlier in the week, in his first interview that he did this week, that he would be open and transparent with the fan base. This news comes out today, and to a portion, the world is on fire. But then, as I say, you can get on Leeds Twitter in the morning and say good morning to somebody, and the world will be on fire immediately for you saying that. So there's always reactions initially to stuff. I think he's self-aware enough to realize that this would get a reaction. And in the interview we did with The Athletic this evening, he's kind of touched on a lot of old points. And the one even earlier in the week, he mentioned the credit card bill. He's not an idiot. He knows what's going on. He knows what's being said. He knows what people are sensitive around. And then in this, I mean, LUST put together the grumpy old man checklist to go to the club and demand answers for this travesty of justice that's happened. But all of their questions would have been answered in this Athletic piece, or at least the same answers they would have gotten if these are the same questions, which I would assume they would be, because you've got stadium naming rights, potential future ownership. Are you buying in now to buy bigger later? Kit, naming. And there's a lot of stuff that should just be taken off the table initially. But I'll caveat everything I'm going to say by saying I am not coming at this from this is the best thing since sliced bread and we should be all, partying at the weekend, or as Daniel Farkas says, partying on tables at the end of a game. Like, there's the concerns that people have around this deal should be noted.
Yeah,
the concerns that people have around their history and what Red Bull have done in the past around Leipzig and Salzburg should be noted and should be watched. And I keep saying this. I am very happy about this deal right now because I think it fixes a lot of potential issues Leeds may have had this season. I think it puts us in a much, much stronger position than I thought we were already in earlier in the week. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't keep one eye on what's going on in the corner, because I don't believe for a second that they're buying a minority ownership in the club to do nothing else down the road. But I don't see the 49ers going anywhere for a decade because they see this club as being a $1 billion sellable asset down the road. It's a long way off being $1 billion, and they have a stadium to build, redevelopment plans to get it to where they want to get it, to then sell it the way they want to sell it. And that's capital ventures and whatever they work. But with this, I wanted to know why. I wanted to know what the bigger plan was. Because again, a company the size of Red Bull, and they're a juggernaut. They're a massive, as already said, second only PepsiCo and Coca-Cola. As a company, someone asked yesterday if Pepsi not owned by Coca-Cola, but they're two very different brands. But PepsiCo are huge because they don't just own Pepsi; they own tons of other brands as well. But I wanted to see where this was coming from. Are Red Bull not paying our rent tonight? No. I thought Red Bull were paying us for this. No.
You invoiced them.
You invoiced them, yeah. I wanted to get the answers, and I think the Phil's done a really good job. And Phil has asked the questions directly. I saw the reaction to Square Ball lads this morning, and Michael Normanton looked genuinely concerned about this.
Yeah.
Not in the words he was saying, but the facial reaction as well. He looked like, and he said out loud, "I don't want these boys anywhere near our club." And there's a reason for that, and that shouldn't be ignored. It should never be ignored or diminished or, laughed at or whatever else. It's an important, it's part of it, and it should be there. At least nothing else to keep us pointing in the right direction moving forward in the next 10 years or whatever happens. But on the face of things and what's come out, judging on that, it's a massive investment. It's rumored to be anything between 200 and 260 million over 3 years. There's different variations of it. One said 60 million this year, 100 million next year, 100 million the year after. Another one said 200 million over 3 years. So it's roughly in around that ballpark. Which is a significant amount of money. And as Parag Marathe says, this is the difference between buying a player and selling a player. Yeah. This is the difference. This could make that difference. The fact that he said that there was no initial conversations around in buying anything or investment, it was a conversation around footballing and sporting business in its entirety. And they sat down and went, what's good for us? What's good for you? What do you think this could look like? What do we think this could look like? And he said they never went into it looking at a possible capital investment because they didn't need it. And they didn't go into it looking for a sponsorship because they had other options for sponsors for the kit for next season. So the fact that they came out of this with, as he put it, the conversation not being what he thought it was going to be around badge, kit, stadium name, color scheme of the club. The fact that he said they were fully aware of all of that and went, yeah, fine. And still wanted to buy in. And still wanted to invest money. He took that as a positive. And he said there was very little debate about it at all, if any. Now, what should be said, and Joe, you can see it on the image that you've got behind us all here, is Boost Energy Drink have a considerable sponsorship of Elland Road. It's huge. It's probably not noticed as much because it's blue. But that will all be replaced, you'd imagine, with Red Bull because they're now the new drinks supplying partner.
It's going to be everywhere, man. Everywhere.
It's going to be everywhere. Yeah. And that's why everyone's asking, why are they doing that? That's why they're doing it. They have no sponsorship holding in English football. And if you look at the Premier Division, there are lots of foreign gambling companies that sponsor shirts in Premier Division. For anyone who doesn't know that, especially the Chinese ones, it is illegal to advertise gambling on TV in China. However, Premier League matches are shown on TV in China. So you sponsor a Premier League club and your brand is seen on TV in China. Like that's one of the reasons that a lot of these companies do that. So for Red Bull on a Leeds shirt, given how many times Leeds will be televised next season, even the Championship, huge amount of exposure for their brand. Then you get to the Premier Division and it goes to all these other countries then. It's huge for them. So people are looking at this from a buying perspective and judging Red Bull on their previous ownerships and their other things they've got involved in. If they own everything, they're 100% involved. And that might be the case down the road. But for right now, it gives them their first exposure in terms of TV time in the UK and then globally from there. And that's been mentioned in the piece as well. The fact that they've got no voting rights, the fact that they don't have a seat on the table, they don't have a board member, they're in the minority pool, which is important. That's to Andrea's point earlier on of Leeds have an investment.
This is where I have questions though, but I'm going to save them.
Yeah. If you're in the minority pool, you don't have anything outside of investment. And he said that they're in the minority pool, they're an investor and they're happy to be that. Fine. I don't think they'll stay there. I don't. I think they're too big a company to want to just stay as a minority, and that's again. But I think that's further down the line.
Can I ask you a question quickly?
Yeah.
If they're a minority investor, as has been positioned to us, but then later on in the article he talks about significant investment. If they're a minority investor, why are they having conversations about naming rights and changing kits? Because Will Ferrell didn't come. Just let me finish. Will Ferrell didn't come and they didn't go, by the way, Will, we're not going to call you Will Ferrell Leeds United. So why are they even having that conversation? They wouldn't need to.
How many people? Well, they do. Of course they do.
No, but this is my point, right? So if it is a minority investor, investor I class as someone like Will Ferrell, Larry Nance Jr., other names, right? Go on.
Minority, though, Joe, is anything less than 51%. So
right.
That's in the other model that Andre is talking about. That's not an investment pool model.
That's the German one, yeah. That's the German one, yeah.
But I can answer that question for Joe because I think it's a really simple answer. Because it's the online reaction to things, and he's very aware of that. Because it came up, and he knows the color red is. And it says it in his interview. He knows there are sensitivities around red and the naming, and he even hints at Radrazani's statement last year about LNO being his asset, and he can do what he wants with it. And him saying, "This is your church. This is your temple." The fact that he's about Will Ferrell doesn't own any other sports entities. Bar LAFC, but he hasn't bought over a club in the past and changed the identity of that club. Therefore, there are no question marks around Will Ferrell try and change the identity of Leeds United? No, but he's never done it. But hang on, Joe, you've asked the question.
Yeah, go on.
The point on this is Red Bull have history of renaming clubs, changing color schemes, and renaming stadiums. They have a history of that. That therefore has to be addressed when they invest in another football club. Of course. And that for me is the most common sense approach to the answer I can possibly give you, because I don't think there's a complicated question there, Joe. I think this is a very common sense issue, and it's very basic. If a company that has a history of radically changing the viewing of a club buys into your club, the very first thing your owner needs to address is that history, and will it happen again? And if you look at it, he's addressed the questions that, hang on, Joe, he's addressed the questions he's been asked. He hasn't made a statement. He's answered questions. One of the questions he's answered is Elland Road naming rights. That's the question that was put to him. Therefore, he didn't volunteer information. He answered the questions he was asked.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Really quickly. What happens in 12 months, 24 months down the line when they wave a load of money at San Francisco 49ers Enterprises Group and say, there's great. Well, Marat is in the hot seat. That's all good and well, but what's to say? There's nothing. I mean, I'm pretty sure they won't have been able to put any sort of contracts in place saying, in 2 years' time we sell you for £500 million. Then what? I think that's where the concern and the worry, certainly on my behalf, is. Hello.
Oh, is he gone? No, but I'm just gonna just piggyback.
I want to answer that as well. So can I just Luke's question?
Go. He's definitely on the take from Red Bull, Joe, isn't he?
He's definitely.
I don't know why this is turning into an argument, because I really don't.
It's not an argument. No, it's not at all. No,
should have let me even doing something else. But for me, to Luke's point, if you're going to live in fear of anything that could potentially happen in the future, any variation of it, then you'll do nothing. You'll never go outside your front door. I jokingly said in our group this morning, I got married before, and I said, till death do us part. I'm getting married a second time. So clearly that doesn't fucking matter. Does it? Right?
I love that.
So you can say lots of things. You can put your hand on a Bible. You can say whatever you want. That doesn't mean the situation will change in a year's time. And on the take thing as well, I have started this by saying every single concern anyone has about this should be recognized and acknowledged and kept there. So I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying unless Saudi Arabia are going to come in and buy Leeds, and then that's a whole different ethical and moral conversation. And it's funny. And I can't, this is the one, nothing has bothered me today about the reaction online. I've seen people go over the top on it, and you're like, but I can understand where that comes from. I can see where that comes from. I can see people being incredibly positive about this and go, yeah, I can totally get where that comes from. The part that I don't understand is people have no problem with a oil state that has human rights violations and has murdered people and journalists buying their club, but have a problem with the color red being stuck on a dot in the middle of your jersey. But you'd rather have one than the other, which I think is a bonkers conversation to be even had. This is an energy drink sports company that's buying into Leeds, who have a horrific past in terms of the history they've done for clubs. The flip side to that coin is every single sports entity that they've got involved in has been a success. Every single one of them have either won leagues, have competed at the top, or have radically changed the direction that those sports franchises were going. They've done the same in Formula One. Somebody tried to say to me earlier on, well, they did the same in Formula One year. They bought a team and changed it. That happens in Formula One every second year. I was a Jordan F1 fan back in the day. They got bought by Honda. They became Honda F1 overnight. Happens. That's just the way that sport works. You look at their esports stuff. They have made esports go from a basement level underground thing to being a mega industry now with thousands of people going to watch esports events. They have their X Games that they do, all the stuff like jumping out of a helicopter and falling off the moon, all those kind of things, right? They've all them, and they're all a massive success, bringing huge amounts of money. Like, how many people will go to watch cliff diving? How profitable of an enterprise is that? Apparently, it's a very profitable one because Red Bull run it annually around the whole world. So there's two sides to this coin. The most important part is, on the face of it right now, and on the questions that have been asked and answered, they've all been answered. Fine. I take it at face value. But also remember the fan base that we are. If that changes, to Luke's point, if that changes in 12 months' time, we've ran owners out of this club before. They'll be ran out again. Yeah, that'll just it's a one city club. There's no split here. It'll be everybody at Elland Road. We saw with Chelino, it'll happen again. And Red Bull won't want that kind of attention. So
I'd just like to add to my initial question. I'm on board, by the way. Certainly short term. I think unfortunately money controls football nowadays, and if you can't beat them, join them. I'm of that sort of ilk at the minute. But yeah, I can't wait to watch the soapbox racing down Beeston Hill either as well. I'm quite looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm very much living in the now, I suppose. And I think in the immediate, it's great, But I'm also quite, just to plateau things out and be a little bit sort of on the fence. It does concern me long term, and to use your analogy there, when you get married, you get to make that choice, and it's one person choice. Whereas Parag's quite openly said that it's a community club, and with his leadership, I completely trust that won't happen. But there's nothing stopping that. And I think that's what people are probably, itching their heads a little bit about potentially.
And they should be. Yeah. That should always be in the back of your mind, down the line. But you do have to take things on face value at some point as well, and go, right now, is this a good deal? And again, as it said, this is the difference between selling, and I don't think that's an accidental line being put in there either. This is the difference between selling a player and not selling a player. All of a sudden, decisions that would have to have been made might not have to be made now. It changes the direction, and I suppose it's what's the cost of being successful? How much would you be willing to sacrifice for your club to be successful? And then what's the limit to that?
Yeah, that's the dilemma, because if you look at the football side of it, they have the best competent people probably in the business, in terms of how they do scouting, how they do recruitment, how, like Lucky said, they do analysis, performance, training. But if you look at the people in charge of the company and how they operate in football, I don't like them, honestly. So they have good employees in terms of how they do things in football, in terms of performance, data, and all that. But the way they operate around clubs, I don't like that. So it's really a big dilemma, because they are exemplary reference on the football side of it, but in terms of management and how they treat clubs and all that, I really don't like how they do that. Absolutely, and I will never.
Yeah, it's football pure. Go on, mate. Yeah,
I was just saying, mate. It's all just what Andrea said. The thing is, like we've just explained, we don't know, right? We don't know what they're going to do, really, in years' time. We have no idea. But is there an argument to say, and I'm not defending them, I'm just saying, like, the Premier League and the pull of the Premier League and having a team successful in the Premier League, is that, well, it is a much bigger pull than any project they've done in football, right? That is absolutely
of course.
Not even close. So would that mean then, them being a sponsor for Leeds United consistently every year in the Premier League is enough for them to grow? You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is that 100%. Would they have to be in a position where they want to change the name? You think a Premier League club at the top, the amount of brands you have and everything there, working with F1, working with world champion Max Verstappen, all this stuff, being on the Premier League, how much money that is every week, watching every week with a sponsor there all around the stadium. been building this training facility, you know, been there, Red Bull, you're there, it's clear. I'd argue that maybe because the size of the project, there's not you won't need to change the badge or the name.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I said that earlier on in the video. I said it's almost as if because this is their first foray into English football. Up to this point, they've not been able to get into it whatsoever for whatever reason, right? But we know as a club they've had a hard-on for Leeds United since 2014. They've consistently and continually been linked with Leeds United. So they're aware of the pull of Leeds United as a football club. For whatever reason, them other times when they've tried to get involved, it hasn't come off. There's a reason why a conversation went ahead in the first place. Maybe feelers were put out and Prague said, right, okay, you know, we'll have a conversation then and let's see what gets brought to the table. So they clearly like the look of Leeds United and investing in Leeds United. And I have to agree with you. I mean, look, German football's great. Austrian league, whatever, F1's massive, but the English football market, like Joe mentioned earlier as well, it's worldwide. You know, look, at the end of the day, I think one thing we're going to have to get used to is seeing Red Bull literally everywhere, but that's the trade-off you make, right? That's the trade-off you make, especially in 2024. I know there's a lot of football purists and stuff, but we have to accept and understand that times are changing, and this is how football's going. Whether you like it or not, this is how it's going, and it's either you have to go, right, do we want to be along for the ride, or do we, you know, dig our heels in and say, no. But that doesn't mean then you then have to sell your soul and say, right, okay, we're going to be called Red Bull Leeds and all that sort of stuff. I've seen some wild takes, can't lie to you, that some fans would be willing to sign it all off as long as we won Premier League clubs and Champions Leagues, and maybe that's the age of a fan, but
it's a new club then, and you may as well support it. Club right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll be forming like a FC United of Leeds. Amateur leagues. Yeah.
Become a two-club city overnight. That's how you fix that problem.
Exactly. We've got some super chats in it anyway. Barney says, I'm sorry, here it is. I'd call us Red Bull Leeds and wear red if it meant us winning Prem titles and going to Champions League. Sentiment is useless when you lose. Fans make atmospheres, not names or colours. No,
can
but then
can I intervene here?
Go.
Red Bull Bragantino in Brazil. Bragantino was a club taken over by Red Bull. In 2020, they changed the name, changed the kits and all of that, you know. They're like kits like RB Salzburg, RB Leipzig. If you go and watch their highlights, the fans go to the stadium, but they have the black and white flags, the black and white banners, the old shirts. They don't have the new ones. So it's the same.
So like Manchester United fans when they lose again.
Yeah.
They get the green and yellow flags out.
Yeah, the yellow flags. The yellow and green. The Norwich scarves, you know.
Yeah. I hear you. That's
crazy. I disagree totally.
Yeah.
I disagree totally with this take.
But I do think I do. If that is to happen, right, and it's very much a hypothetical, because I meant to say this at the very start. Before you get into anything else, there are FA rules that prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
Right. The FA have already stopped Hull City adding Tigers to their name, which was already on their badge, was already part of their club, which was their kick was designed like a tiger stripes. It was already a part of their culture. Their nickname were the Tigers, and they wanted to add it to their name of their club, and the FA said, no, you can't. Forget about it. End of. And the owner, I think, left. But that was a big thing. So it's not as straightforward as them going, we're going to call ourselves Red Bull or RB Leagues. The FA will go, you're not damaging the integrity of our league in this country. No. If the regulator ever does come in, one of the big things with the regulator is around the legacy of clubs and protecting it from commercial entities. That goes away with this as well. And that's not going to happen in 12, 24 months. Like to Luke's point about, you know, further down the road, that's a possibility, but you're talking probably 7-10 years down the road, you know, maybe. Yeah. And by which stage there's absolutely zero chance that, or football has radically changed in the UK and everyone's named after a commercial entity, you know, and that's a different thing. But if you're going to go down the route of saying you'd support the club if they change their colour, their badge, the stadium name, that's all of your...
It's not the same club,
soul.
Is it?
Yeah, that's your soul that's you're giving away.
Exactly.
You may as well go support Chelsea, Manchester United, Man City 100%. Right now, because they have a different badge, different stadium name, and different kit colour. If that's all that's stopping you from moving to support a different club to be successful, you can do that right now.
Do that, yeah.
You've lost your soul in the process. Like it's different. I just don't see it happening. Stadium rights will happen at some point. Leeds, Ellen Road will not always be called Ellen Road because it's too much of a commercial entity. It'll always be known by the fans as Ellen Road, same as the Riverside is Riverside, but it's been called BT Cellnet Stadium, all these other things. That's revenue. That's a different thing. But right now, the other stuff that's is being talked about just won't happen. It just can't. Right now, there's no mechanic in place or vehicle in place. Sorry, for that to happen.
100%. We've got another one. Might call it worry further down the line, but this will change the way players will look at what we are cooking right now. Players will come here, and potentially players may stay. I think that's the nail. Go on, Luke.
Are we not getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here? They've come in as a shirt sponsor. I think we're probably talking 12 months down the line. Look, they're a minor investment. I think the reason people seem to be getting a little bit worked up and a little bit ahead, a little bit excited is that they expect Red Bull to have more control and have somebody sitting on the board in the future. At the moment, who's to say? I mean, Lockie just gave us that great bit of information about their scouting network. Who's going to say we're going to have access to that? They're a minority investor at the moment. As far as we're concerned, they're sponsoring the shirt for a year. That's all we know.
There's a few bits on that. One of the things that Prague did say about, and I'm paraphrasing here, was the player development pool, with the player development facilities, of what Lockheed was talking about earlier on with their performance systems that they have in place. Like, that's the stuff that Leeds are interested in. The scouting network is what Leeds are interested in. The data pool is what Leeds are interested in. That's what Leeds are getting out of this. So they won't have access to the players because they made it clear there's no affiliation between the clubs. But that doesn't mean that Leeds won't have access to their scouting network, their scouting pool, and their data pool, which that, from what I've read, appears to be why Leeds were interested in this, and the increase in player development and what they can do from a professional athlete perspective for players. That's massive for what they do.
100%. I agree. Go on, Andre. Did you want to respond or not?
No. It's not a response, But I was thinking about what Luke said about getting ahead of ourselves. The only thing that keeps rolling in my mind is we touched a little bit before earlier about the fact that they may invest in the future and help about the training facilities, because we were talking about the performance and all of that. But I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of an investor. If they do that, they will invest more. I think, honestly, than what they invest right now in terms of shirt sponsors. So their investment will increase. But if my investment increases, then I want to have a little bit more of power. Because they don't have voting rights, like George said. So if they invest more, we won't just see sponsors that enroll on the shirts. Then they will have at some point more control, I guess, and more say, probably one of the board in the future if they invest more. Because if the investment increases, then you as an investor, you want to have a larger say, you want to matter more, in terms of how the things are going into the club, if that's the case, if they invest in the training ground or the stadium. And these are just two examples, That was my question,
Can I just say as well, did they not have a say, though?
Apparently, none of the minority stakeholders have a say, but what they've said is it's an educated eye that can help with decisions if they need them. It's another
call them significant investors, right? It's like the influence, as I said, just like any other significant investors. And then he goes on about the chemistry of the investor group and that. He doesn't say, no, they don't have any influence in the running of the club.
They all get along with each other. They all see the same goal. They all trust the management structure that's in place. And he's talked about the management structure, and they believe in that management structure. So it's that everyone is pulling in the same direction and making sure everyone has the same focus and same goal. And that's the chemistry behind the scenes that has to be right. You can't have some of your minority investors are like, no, we want to do it this way, because then you can just get a pool of minority investors to get together and try and buy the club out. But like at some point down the line, 49ers Enterprises will sell Leeds. It's venture capitalists. That's their entire model. Take something, build it up, make it valuable, flip it. That happens, but they do invest in the meantime to get it to where it needs to get to. Red Bull maybe further down the line look at this as going, this is our way into English football, this is our way of doing it, but it still comes back to the same point. They won't be allowed to change the name of the club. They just won't be allowed to. The Premier League, the FA just won't allow a club to become a commercial entity. If that was going to happen, you can guarantee yourselves the Newcastles, the Man Cities, who have these countries that own them that want to be known, they would change the names as well. They would absolutely have changed the names, but that's not the point, is it? It's about the branding exercise. And you look at Saudi, it's about how Saudi Arabia is viewed. They do it with WWE quite an awful lot, and the rhetoric around how they talk about when they do tours to Saudi Arabia, it's the progressive city of Jeddah.
Yeah.
There's a
So,
marketing vehicle behind it for that reason to change views and things. Red Bull will be the same. It'll be an opportunity for them to be seen globally by people who maybe didn't watch it. Because if you watch football, do you watch F1? I know you don't watch F1, Joe, but you think it's just cars driving around in a circle. So exactly. So you don't watch them. So if you're not exposed to that brand, you're not seeing that from watching F1 because you don't. If you don't watch esports, because it's not real sports, so you don't watch that, so you're not going to see Red Bull's branding there. And if you're not into people jumping off cliffs and driving buses or go-karts, then you're probably going to not see their branding there. They don't have a foothold in this industry, 100%. And it's the biggest, most lucrative industry in the world. So if they can get into this, and that's where I think it is. But I do think further down the line, it is a potential club owner.
Yeah. And that's why, let me just clarify as well, mate. I'm over the moon. Like, let me just clarify, but I'm playing devil's advocate. We're here to have a discussion. It's pointless.
Very hard, Joe. You're playing devil's advocate really hard.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll lay off it a bit. No, I've done 2 videos today, and I'm over the moon. Just on that global appeal as well. Sorry, Luke. Even something as simple as a tweet from saying Leeds, confirmed by Red Bull Racing that Max Verstappen is not coming to Leeds United. The interactions on that is huge straight away. You've got F1 fan. They've got 4 million followers, and I know, listen, it's Twitter, so what? But it's 2024, right? What's this? Where's Max? Imagine how many people have clicked on that Leeds tweet now because of that. So it's little things like that, like bringing on Will Ferrell, for example. It's all them little things that can have a massive impact. Paris Hilton in the fucking video.
Do you think Larry Nance Jr. walk into a Pelicans game every week in a Leeds shirt, which he does, which is on TNT in the US, which is one of the biggest cable network in the US outside of Fox. So that's being seen, and I guarantee you there's some short sales gone to Pelican fans that would never bought a football shirt there now bought that shirt. And Paris Hilton doing a video, all of a sudden there's media people look at it, and I hate it. But the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff in the US in the NFL, I hate it. I absolutely can't stand it. But it brought a ton of eyes on the NFL in the Super Bowl, an absolute ton of them, which brought a huge amount of money into it as well. There was even negotiations around every time Taylor Swift was shown on TV, one of the sponsors was going to pay money towards something. Like, there was huge amounts of stuff that went with this. Max Verstappen walking down the pit road with a Leeds shirt on him,
Yeah, true.
Imagine him at Ellen Road, just a video of him at Ellen Road. You got all these F1
I'd find him.
See that.
I keep saying, poor Oscar would have a meltdown. Poor Oscar would have a meltdown, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I was wondering.
How was Oscar today, by the way?
Do you like him in England, Verstappen? Because he's not very much liked around
I
here.
like him more than Lewis.
I'm a Clement fan.
I don't know. I like Damon Hill, me. Damon Hill's
I do like him.
Now we're talking about driving around circles, yeah. Right.
Yeah, Damon Hill. Danny Cook's become a member. He says, just become a member. Sorry taking so long. Been watching for the last few years. Really looking forward to next season and watching the channel. Keep up the great work, Joe and team. Big up to you. Thank you for that, Danny. Phil says, imagine if we went up with this investment, man. Do you know what's really impressed, mate? Go on, Luke. You were supposed to say something ages ago, but just totally cut you off. Go on, mate.
Sorry, mate.
You can't remember now, can you?
No, I've forgotten.
You can answer this, though, then.
I've blinked since then.
How impressive was it that these conversations have been going on for 6 months and we only found out yesterday?
Which leads me to be a little bit sceptical, naturally, simply because this lad who had 20 followers on Twitter seemed to get all the information before pretty much spot on as well.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah.
Which just... I don't know. I don't know what I make of it, but they've done really well to keep it.
Is he being paid by Red Bull, do you reckon?
I got the Leeds second kit last year sent to me by somebody, and when I tweeted it, and my follower count exploded because of it.
You did.
And that wasn't somebody that was involved with Leeds that gave me that. So it could
be involved with Red Bull, or it could be involved with
just an email that was going around internally. I mean, I've been working on projects with Microsoft for the last 6 months that have been under non-disclosure agreements, and no one said a word about them. That finished now a couple of weeks ago. Thank God.
I believe this person is
leaks out.
I believe this person is linked to Ackley Sports Group. Is what I will say.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no, I think it's good. It's obviously. Not something we're not really used to when you've got your ex-chairman on Twitter saying that we'd sign players and that they're on the plane and not signing them. So it's look, we've said this from the very start. We're being run by a professional outfit, and it does feel very professional. And for them still to convince the Red Bull to come on board, even though we didn't get promoted? Because it sounds like that agreement was in place upon promotion to me, and that reading between the lines, that we still managed to convert it into a sponsorship deal, regardless of failing to get back to the Premier League this year. So to have that sort of pull in the Championship is wild. And yeah, like you said, to keep it relatively under hat, so to speak. Sorry. It was a good move. And look, I'm excited by it. I really am excited by it. But I am naturally quite skeptical. Look, people will call me an happy clapper, but naturally we all want the best for Leeds United, whether that's 100%. in the now or in 5-10 years time. So I do disagree with the super chat a little bit earlier about changing names and whatever else. But yeah, sit in, strap in, and we're in for a ride, aren't we?
Do we? Is there any talk about how much this actual 1-year sponsorship is worth?
Between 200 and 260 million.
The same lad who tweeted the information said it was 50 million first year, then 200 over the next 3, I think. There's been loads of different figures.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close to that though, Lucas. I saw 60 million first year, 200 over the next 2, so 100 million each year. But I've also seen 200 flat as well as 200 over 3. So it's in and around 200, 260 million.
Doesn't it?
A significant amount of money.
I swear it said in one of the articles as well that if we go up, that will increase as well. I swear it said
that's probably where
somewhere.
the additional 60 is coming from. Then I'd say it was going to be 60 million this year, and if you go up, it's 100 million and 100 million. Probably that's where your 260 comes from or 250 comes from. So I would imagine. But it's a
ladder scheme. Yeah.
So that's 60 million. So we can use that. Will that help?
It's profit. Yeah. It's revenue. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And do you know what? Actually, this is one thing that we haven't spoken about, which absolutely got me buzzing in that Parag Marate piece, which I am going to find now. Just 1 second. Basically, I'll find it in a sec, his actual wording, but he said every single penny that we get from investment will go on to the field. He basically said every single bit that we get will go straight onto the playing team, the personnel. So that for me, when I was reading it, I was like, yeah, I'm having a bit of that. He didn't say we're taking any out or anything like that. He just said we're getting it straight on. I'm trying to there it is. He says it's a multi-year long-term deal commercially that already has built into it when we get promoted a different number. That's the bit I was just alluding to. And then he said there's not a penny of it that's going anywhere other than back onto the pitch. And that's what's come out of his mouth. So that's a massive positive to hear him say that. I'll share it as well so people can see it, and I'm not talking tripe. But yeah, so from a front of shirt standpoint, significant deal, significant partnership, a partnership we're going to do, don't matter which league we're in, a multi-year long-term deal commercially that already has built into it when we get promoted a different number. That's so obviously that, like you said, Joe, if we go up, it'll go from 60 to 200. But where he says there at the end, not a penny of it's going anywhere other than back onto the pitch, which for me, that's all I want to hear. That's all I want to hear. They're not taking dividends, note of that, like the Glazers or whatever they're saying. Whatever we bring in, bang. And do you think as well, like obviously if we think about this 70-odd million that's owed, right? You knock 40 off for Adams and Sinistera. Now, you know, what is that, 33? Well, they can just go, that's 60 million. Bam, that's taken off.
Paid up front for them, Joe. So I think we can only really knock off 8 or 9 or whatever. But I get what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, just to put the other thing, just really quickly, just to interrupt. The other thing that made me a little bit more skeptical, I suppose, about this deal, and I'm sure Joe, you'll probably have an answer for this, is in terms of sponsorship deals, certainly just shirt sponsorships. I mean, we were only getting paid £6 million a year from SBO Top while we were in the Premier League.
That was good,
and that was good money. I mean, we were outside of the Big Six. We were equal with, I think, Everton and West Ham or something like that. There was a couple of other clubs, Newcastle. We were relatively close. So when you take into that into account, and given the 49ers already owned a part share of Leeds United before they took over. So say for instance, I think it was about 46% from memory that they owned before they sold the remaining shares, before Rad sold the remaining shares. Hypothetically speaking, we're talking £200 million in 3 years. What sort of percentage are we talking about, do you feel? Because the reason I ask that is if we were in the Premier League and get paid £6 million per year, that's only 18 million over 3 years. We're talking 200 million here. And we're not in the Premier League. Do you know? Can you see why alarm bells are slightly ringing and why I'm asking these questions?
It seems too good to be true, so therefore it must be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
100%. I see that. But again, to your earlier point, Luke, this looks like a deal that was being negotiated when it looked like we were going to the Premier League. And I think that's. But then they've looked at it and gone, you'll get there next year. We'll do it anyway, but we'll do it at a slightly reduced term, which is again. Looking at when Brad was going to buy Leeds, it was 400 million, and then we got relegated. And you got it for about 250 because we went relegated. And we I still want to buy the club, but I'm not paying the same amount of money for it. So that's possibly where that comes from. But I like the fact that he's saying things about the money going back onto the pitch, because the great thing about the investment pool is they can keep investing new money into that investment pool, and that comes into that investment pool, and they can use that money however they want. And there's a lot of investment coming in the last 12 months that wasn't, again, factored in for last year. So there's a huge amount of stuff they can do with that. And to your point, Joe, as well, about that money, if you had 60 million this year and they needed to spend 73 of it on transfer fees this year, or outstanding transfer fees, get 60 of that, and they got 60 from Adams and Sinister. That's 120 million there. So now you're in profit. Straight away, we're back in profit, and that's job done. And then next year, 100 million, and so on. And then even if you were to go down the route of worst case scenario, fire sale, having to sell players, if you got 35 for Somerville and 30 for Nanto, that's 65 million there straight away. Now you don't sell anybody else. You actually got plenty of money then. And if he says, and if it's true, and you have to take him at his word until he proves he can't be trusted. Well, right now, Murata hasn't said anything he's lied about. So right now he says that goes onto the pitch. Then that goes onto the pitch, and you've got to take him at his word and go, that's a serious amount of money in the Championship to be able to spend and still be within profit and sustainability, which he, again, on his earlier interview, is going to go to the edge of to make Leeds competitive. Like, he's got every single penny he can to get that.
I get that. And what people I don't think understand is people are just saying because Red Bull are worth more money. Well, that's simply not the case, because if they wanted, well, they're worth a lot more than SBO top, obviously. But if people wanted, if Red Bull wanted to invest in something, they could have got it. They could have got it a lot cheaper in the Premier League. Is probably the they
had options apparently. Apparently they had options in the Premier League to look at investing in a couple of clubs in the Premier League. But
I was talking about West Ham, years ago.
But I do think it comes down to single club city, potential for stadium development in a bigger stadium, the atmosphere that you get there as well, and it's not a bespoke. It's a bespoke stadium and not an inherited Olympic Park that West Ham went with. It's got potential for that whole area to be redeveloped into a concourse.
Sleeping giant, sleeping giant still.
Still in evolution, university.
Yeah, but then you look at it as well. The 49ers got involved with the Leeds City Council about putting a tram line up to Elland Road so people could get to the ground easier, and that was poo-pooed as being like that'll never happen. And within a couple of months, all of a sudden, the Leeds City Council are putting out a thing around a tram system going into Leeds to help connect parts of Leeds. And it's just, if they can make that area more attractable to investment, if they can make that whole area like a pre-game stuff at restaurants and bars, which you're talking about outside the stadium before you ever get in, and they can get transport networks up and down to that ground, all of a sudden it doesn't just become the crowd that's in the ground. This is this 4 million Spurs match day revenue figure they're chasing. If you get to that, great. But then you also got people who just will be there and won't get tickets and won't be able to get in. And then you've got all these bars set up around like the Peacock and everything else that are set up, and people go in there and watch the game, and there's revenue coming in that way if they're connected to the stadium. So Red Bull will look at all of that as going, there's a huge potential of getting money back from this as well, because as an investor, they will make money as well. So when they do get to the point of paying out dividends, which they will at some point, they're going to make money on their investment as well.
Can we talk about a contentious issue for some, not for all? We need to talk about the logo and what that means for the shirt. Okay, so look, Murata didn't discount the Red Bull logo being on the shirt. That's one thing he said. He said, look, and I'll read it to you folks. As far as logos go, you've seen it before. We know what the Red Bull logo, the Bulls are red, the sun is yellow, yeah? We'll see how it ends up developing. As people have said before, they've been blue on other shirts. He did also add in, though, which I think's a little bit of a sweetener, or a little bit saying, look, Leeds United have had a red sponsor before, Red Kite. Remember, that was red on the shirt. And he made a point of... Yeah, he made a point of actually saying Red Kite as well, right? He didn't say that, but he said, look, you've had a sponsor. So I'm like, right, he said that for a reason. Obviously 32 red, but they changed it to blue, right? They changed it to blue for our shirt. So he says, I understand the sensitivity of that, but then he says, I want supporters to know that my focus is on keeping the legacy of this great club and doing everything we can to make us as competitive as we can be on the pitch. So it almost felt like to me, look, we might have to accept a trade-off of having Red Bulls on the shirt, but we're going to be competitive on the pitch. That's how it felt to me. How can I ask just what people... Because, listen, I know some Leeds fans that don't own anything red, wouldn't buy the 32 red shirt, even though it was in blue, because it had the words red. I think Lockie, you said about, oh, my dad won't wear the shirt or something. Was it you, Lockie, you said that? You know, there's people...
Packard Bell have a bit of red on?
Yeah, Packard Bell, yeah, a little bit as well. But can we talk about that?
First one's called Neil Redfern. Do we not like him because his first part of his name was Red?
Come on, no, Joe. Come on now. Some will be really, really annoyed by it. What is people's thoughts? Listen, I know this is probably not going to go down well, but I'm not really asked about 2 Red Bulls on a shirt, if I'm being totally honest, but that's just me. What's other people's thoughts?
I don't have a huge problem with it, as long as it's not overkill. If they just go to 2 bulls and not the big Red Bull logo as well, maybe. I would like to think that the sensitivity around that and the bit of common sense that would kick in would be the same as 32 red and go, just put it in blue. Put it in red around the stadium, but just put it in blue on the jersey. You know what I mean? Like, you'd hope that common sense would kick in, but I'm looking at the different logos. They've got black and white variants. They've got blue and white, purple and white, and then red and yellow. But red and yellow is their chief brand. The modern kits that they have don't include the Red Bull name. They only include the brand because they're at a level now. Same with Adidas this year, they're removing Adidas from the name because it's of a level now where it no longer needs the name. The brand is recognizable. So there's that. I'd like it to be blue, but if it was red, and Spurs fans had the same sensitivity about AIA. They were in red when they took over the sponsorship initially. They lost their minds over that. Why, they 6-7 years into that sponsorship, still there, and it's still on the jersey. It's still red, or at least it's part red now. So I don't know if we can get past it, but I know a lot of Leeds fans who would refuse to wear a shirt that has the word red, let alone the color red in it.
Exactly.
I get over it.
I'm probably I'd probably be a little bit more pleased. I wouldn't not buy the shirt, for instance, but I would certainly prefer, like you say, around the sensitivities. And it sounds like they're pretty sensible from the conversations. Parag is feeding back to us. It seems like they've been quite flexible. But who knows? And it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's a fucking shirt at the end of the
sponsor. It's shirt sponsor. It's not as if they're putting red in the badge or anything. It's literally
There's
a
red
shirt
in the
sponsor.
EFL logo anyway on the side of every shirt. Do you know what I mean? It's not the be all and end all, is it? It's an item of clothing. If you're going to take it that seriously, that's your biggest worry. You're not doing too bad in life, are you? Do you know what I mean? I'd much rather it wasn't there, but if it's there, c'est la vie.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means in French. What does it mean?
This is life.
Yeah, what will be will be in it. C'est la vie. I only know it because of the Bewitched song, to be fair. No one else get that? No, fair
I get
just
it.
Me.
I want to get it.
Just me. I dance like me da as well. Sorry.
I knew he was going to do that. I knew that was the second bit that was coming.
C'est la vie. Sorry, go on, Lucky.
Someone said this is red. That is orange. So, yeah,
there's red in the flames, though. Surely,
that's definitely
a derivative of red.
And the handwriting underneath.
Yeah, there is.
I've got a red beard, man. Fuck it, it is what it is.
Yeah,
you have to do it with the blue one, Joe. Now,
a few years ago, I'd have probably been more annoyed because when I was younger, my dad and all that stuff. But honestly, now if I like the shirt, I'll buy it. If I don't, I won't. I get the wider range idea of it. Why we don't like red and stuff like. Obviously, I don't actually own any apart from this. I don't actually own any full red t-shirts. I don't actually like the color red. It's not my favorite color. So if it had a lot of red in it, I probably won't buy it. But yeah, like Luke said, get annoyed for it for a few days. But if I like the shirt, I'll buy it, and that's just me. You know what I mean?
I did once get given
there'll be options as well, won't there?
I wanted to get a multi-pack of socks or boxer shorts one Christmas, and I threw the red pair away.
There you go. So we have. What about you, Andrea?
I honestly, if I like the shirt, I'm on the same page. If I like the shirt, I'll buy it. But I think, of course, they have a huge investment, so it's fair that they put the logo with the original one on the shirt, considering the investment they put out to have it as the shirt sponsor. I think they'll sell more shirts probably in the UK, not abroad, because, of course, with the Red Bull logo, they have also the goal of selling a lot of shirts abroad because of the Red Bull logo and all that, try to expand the market. But I think they will sell more shirts in the UK if they use a blue and yellow logo of Red Bull. But looking at their other clubs, of course, all of them have clubs they're involved to. They have white and red as club colors. This is the big difference. Leeds don't have the red color, and they don't like it. But yeah, I think in the end it's fair that they use the red logo. But it won't go down well with the fan base. But considering the investment,
Andrea, the fact that he mentioned we've had red sponsorship before and then said, and I am trying to make us compare. He's pre-warning us. Look, we'll see what we can do. But and I agree with you. I think if they're going to give us this as a fan base, we can trade off letting them put a fucking logo on a shirt. That's the way I
have
see
the red
it.
kite shirt. I have the red kite shirt. The 20, 27, 28. So
and they probably gave us a tenner to sponsor that, you know what I mean?
Probably.
Sort of fucking...
But there's also another one, I think, where there's red. The one from the year before.
Very red. Like the circle on the side of the Packard bell that was on the left-hand side of the shirt was pretty red. Like the whole one side of it was red. So it wasn't...
Yeah,
and that was... Sorry.
Yeah, and let's not forget that there was also, we had like shades of red, because if you look at the Red Rizzani days, that maroon was criticized back then, when he's I think it was his son. He said that it was his son designing the shirt, when we had that maroon shirt, and even the pink one from this year, the beach one, because it looked like palm trees and everything, it was criticized a bit at the start of the season, and there were even some people, that remember in the chat too that in the 60s and the 70s, Leeds for a while had an away shirt, red or red socks, But regardless of that, we don't like red.
I'd wear red for 70 million though, would you?
No, honestly, no, I won't. Honestly,
70 million?
No, I won't. Because our colors are blue, yellow, and white. So
I would wear red the rest of my life for 70 million. Only red, red for the rest of my life.
Only on the sponsor.
Probably do whatever you want for 70 million if it wasn't recorded.
Exactly, man.
I just sent you some images there. The Packard Bell logo was very red. Outside the word Packard Bell, the logo itself was incredibly red. The bulk of it was red. Kite had red in it. 30 Red obviously had the name in it that was red. Don't tell me that Maroon Kit 2 years ago wasn't red, because it's maroon. It's a derivative of red. It's just a darker red. It's still red.
In the European Cup as well against.
We wore it in it for 1 year. Yeah.
It's if we're being honest, if we want to go really into it, I mean, we only wear white because of fucking Real Madrid anyway. Do you know what I mean? So, like, if you want to deep it that
technically, it's not our colours. Yeah,
exactly. Like Dom Revy. I'm just saying though, right? Like Dom Revy, I want us to be like Madrid.
But isn't that the point though? If you're gonna be purist around your club's colours, then Leeds' colours are blue and yellow half. That's Leeds' colours. Actually, it's all blue with a yellow colour. That's Leeds' original colours. Like, if you're going to be a purist about it, if you're going to go down the route of saying, well, I'm a Leeds purist and I want us in all white, well, then you're only a Leeds purist since the 60s. You're ignoring the other 60 years before that, 50 years before that. So we haven't always been white. But like, I'd like it to not be red. I would really like
try to get it as little as possible. That'd be quite
nice, But even still, this talk of Levi's coming on as a sleeve sponsor, they're red as well. They don't
change their colour at all. They are red. They are known for that brand, so they're not changing that.
Yeah, there you go.
But the jeans are blue.
Ronnie, you wear them for your missus anyway. Don't lie, man. We know Ronnie. And Real because of Corinthians. There you go. I didn't know that bit. Sure. There you go. So we're all just copying off each other, innit? That's what it is. Look, all positive, right? Happy days. We've got a massive cash injection. We're going to be able to keep all the players. It's all good. Phil says, imagine if we went up with this investment. He goes on to say, I have no doubts in next 5 years, Leeds are up there. And the official Zoom says, welcome to American sports. Yeah, we're here. Yeah, has anyone got anything else they want to add at all?
HMS Mr. League is back
Blue
up.
Bull.
It is,
Blue
isn't
Bull.
it? It is.
Anyone? Blue Bull? Blue Bull?
Blue Bull. White Bull.
White Bull.
White Bull.
White Bull?
Yeah.
White Bull.
White Bull League.
White Bull?
What we're doing? I don't know what we're doing. Red
Oh,
Bull?
changing the name.
Changing the
Wow.
name of
right.
Red Bull.
Okay.
On the
Red
different
Thunder.
version.
Just go Red Thunder, man. Fuck Red Bull and let's go Red Thunder. That's what I'm saying, man.
You'll be saying that next week when they sponsor you, Joe, will you?
Well, yeah, if
Yeah,
they can send me a
You'll
brace
be
or two.
positive for 50 quid.
Details in the bio.
Yeah.
For all sponsorship needs, details are in Joe's bio.
Joe will be doing next week unboxing of Red Bull cans, and all that,
Yeah.
rating them like
He'll have a
flying and all
little
that.
product placement on his shelf. Just
Leeds United
a pair of
collaboration.
Levi's on.
That'll be a denim away shirt next year.
Imagine we were talking about.
Yeah, what was it? What's the
Denim.
term they use? Denim on denim or
Yeah,
Double
double denim. Double denim.
double
yeah.
denim.
Denim on
Double
denim.
Denim on denim.
As long as it's like the one that was out in the early 2000s, where it's like the denim with the fluffy white collar, like the wool collar
Yeah,
on the
man.
inside of it, like
Yeah.
Triple H jacket. I'm all right with that. I could wear that kit. Be very warm.
Do we? Obviously,
That'd be-
apparently,
That'd be-
there's a lot of noise now that there's going to be another announcement tomorrow. I don't know what that is. Do you think it might be the retained list or something, or what?
Retained list is due out this week, isn't it? Just early next week or this week. The retained list is due out. I mean,
Yeah,
keep it coming. If it's all
yeah,
good news,
exactly,
keep it
man. This is
Patrick
what I'm
Graham's
saying.
That's what it's going to be.
Do you
They've
reckon?
done really well. One thing I would add is they've
Oh.
done really well to take people's minds off Sunday.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, so over.
Really?
It feels like it was a month ago.
But yeah, I feel like ages ago. Apart from when I'm still getting bloody bookmarks from Southampton fans every day, man.
Just
I've
mute
watched
them,
your Twitter. You keep jumping yourself 2 feet back into that argument. You're not exactly shying away from it.
Nah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I just mute it, me. I just mute it all. Honestly, I get tagged in stuff and I just mute it and don't go back. I don't even want to look. Yeah.
Crying to your can of Red Bull, can't you?
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah, someone
I
put
can
together a
cry.
Southampton fan put together a compilation of Leeds fans' reactions to us going the goal being scored, and someone sent it me in my DMs, and I just went, "No, thank you, mute." I don't want to see that.
Do you think Vardy will still drink his Red Bull before games now that
Yeah, man, get him in,
Espanyol
innit?
leads or not?
Yeah,
cover it,
get him
won't
in.
they? Have to-
Get him in. It's exciting times, man. You know, I think I sit here now and we're gonna win the league, aren't we? I think we're gonna win the league. I think.
We've got to buy some players first. That's not
Nah,
started
but
yet,
do, yeah.
so-
we're gonna win the
To,
league.
to rebuild a part of the squad, but yeah, we're in a good position considering the teams that are there. And I'm saying now, let's look at Portsmouth because I really think Portsmouth can do any switch for me next season. Honestly,
Really?
yeah.
We'll see.
Honestly,
We'll see.
if they get between 2 or 4 new players, right, like Ipswich did, I think they can repeat what the Ipswich did this season. Honestly,
We're
in the
gonna do
playoffs,
Reading,
maybe
mate.
not
We're gonna
not
do
Let's
Reading
not have
second
that.
half.
automatics.
No to that. Let's not let that happen.
Yeah.
Run away with it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Now we're gonna run away with it. I want us front and center from game 1 all the way through to game 46. That's the plan.
No excuses now.
Joe
No
wants us
excuses.
to win every game. Every
No, serious, man. Like, I expect we are now Man City of this fucking league. We are, man.
Would it be
Who's-
great to just not have the restrictions and be able to just spend proper money? Like, I'm excited about. I have to keep saying if and when we get promoted because you just never know with us. But if when it happens, I'm very excited about what they're going to do in the Premier League.
I've got so many
very
bookmarks,
excited
mate.
about that. But we've got to get there for it. Oh, I have tons.
12
of
months
tons of them.
time.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Although the Huddersfield fan that was trolling me last year and then went a bit quiet this year seems to have fallen off the planet. I don't know why. I can't think why at all.
Find him.
Well, say again, Joe. Sorry, I missed it, man.
So there's a Huddersfield fan who was stalking me on Twitter since last season,
Really?
the Premier League, and was just giving me loads, going, "Oh, we're better than you guys." I was like, "You're in the wrong fucking division to start with."
Yeah.
And then it was he popped up again this year, but he seems to have gone very quiet now and vanished off the scene.
100%.
You know, I wonder why that's happened.
Did you see the
possibly.
Southampton players that Taylor Howard Bellis going? put I predict to right on. Put I predict. I thought, what are you doing? And then they were going, and I just thought, why? Why is it the
nothing
cool
to do with
thing?
them all season. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because we're
We've
massive. Because
nothing
we're
with
absolutely
them.
fucking massive.
Massive. Yeah.
Do you remember when Barnsley Huddersfield had that draw last day of the season in the championship to stay open and just keep passing the ball between without pressing? You know, I remember I was like in first year of high school probably. I commented on the video and said embarrassing. Years later, a Barnsley fan commented, "Where's Sam Winnell, mate?" Because we were linked to him. Where's Sam Winnell, mate?
Honestly, it's like I just didn't understand it. Why? And then I seen that thing of like derbies next season, and it put all these teams, and then it put Leeds United, everyone, which is so true, man. So true, because we're fucking massive. Christopher Junction says, which RB for first watch along? Exciting times coming. Which right back?
Red Bull.
Which Red Bull? But what are you asking?
I want you to do some Red Bull watch-alongs, Joe.
Yeah, Red Bull.
Oh, right, okay. What's the next event? Let's do it. All Red Bull are we? Now I'm on the payroll. Let's do it, man.
What
did he do?
What halftime show, Joe? Next year's halftime show. Monster trucks at halftime. Let's go.
What's coming up? Surely there must be a Red Bull soapbox race coming up this summer.
I'm going to
every year
to the first game of the season dressed as a soapbox, I think.
Do it, man. Did you see someone do the concept kip on Junior Furpon? They just put loads of cans on him. It was brilliant, man.
Oh,
it's like the packaging off the 4-pack can, isn't it? The cardboard around it.
There's Red Bull Hardline, which is a motocross, I believe, coming up in June. There you go,
nice.
Joe.
Okay.
That's in 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
Give that. There's the concept.
The Cliff series is coming up soon as well.
What's that? Where they jump off cliffs?
Yeah.
That's really good.
I'll give
Cliff diving.
Do you remember
the planes as well?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do the acrobatic planes. Well, the people that stand on top of them, don't they? Yeah. They do everything.
The World Rally Championship as well, sponsored by Red Bull.
Everywhere out there. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Do you remember the Budweiser sponsorship of the Premier League? Not the official sponsorship, but the official drinking partner years ago. It's probably about 10 years, maybe a bit more ago. But it had like the Americanization of Premier League football. And it was like, this is how Americans will improve the Premier League. And it was like, no more 0-0 draws. Now we got extra time multi-ball. And the advertising horns dropped down and like all these footballs got fired onto the pitch. And then there was no more boring halftime shows. Now monster truck halftime shows. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this now.
I could deal with that.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is nice, isn't it?
Is that there?
Ooh, nice one. This one.
This one.
I like that one.
I
think that's my favourite.
Yeah, that's the daddy. Obviously, these are only concept kits, and you'll be seeing a lot of them. But something like that's perfect.
That's the Adidas palette for this year, so it's the right palette. There was one that I sent you, Joe, had the logo in blue on it, but it's pretty much the same. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Be attacked for that now, but it's not that bad.
Yeah. It's very nice. We've got exciting times ahead, man. That's the thing. It's exciting times ahead. Anyway, folks, I think we've rambled on enough, haven't we? Are we all? Let's just find out before we do finish. We're gonna Lockie, Red Bull, good or bad? Good. Andrea, Red Bull, good or bad?
Tough answer, honestly. Very tough. Honestly, for investment, yes. For the company involved, no.
So no? That sounds like a no.
No, in the middle. In the middle, in the grey.
I didn't give you a no. I didn't give you a middle. I said yes or no. Good or bad? Yes or no? Bad, okay. You're doing the sun? I can't even do it, look. Come on, Luke. Good or bad?
Similar to Andre, very good in the short term. Who knows for the long term? Question mark. Dodo, what have you been doing to upset Stevie, man? What's going on here? Dildo Dodo. I want you to change your name now from Mr. Dodo to Dildo Dodo. Stop upsetting Steve, man, will you? Good or bad?
I'm with Luke. Good in the short term, keep an eye on it in the long term.
Yeah, and it's a massive good from me. Not least because I'm getting 50 quid wired over it morning. So happy days.
Still almost sending you 50 quid, Scott.
Yeah, man. That and a crate of Red Bulls, man. So yeah, we'll see.
Have you informed Red Lightning of your move to Red Bull?
Red Thunder. Yeah. To be honest, I emptied the bin earlier on. Look, there's no Red Thunder anymore. So
you're done. God, you cut that bandage off quick. Like Jack Harrison leaving the club. You're done.
I'm done, man. I'm done. It is what it is. Right. Okay. I think we'll leave it there. Please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe to Lucky Leeds. So, go check out Andrea on Twitter. Go and check out Leeds United The View. Sophie was asking in the chat. Make sure you go check that out. Make sure you check out Luke at Ought to Know Better. And yeah, I moved on fast. Yeah, I'm just reading the chat now. It's all popping off. Love it. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you in a bit. We'll all see you probably tomorrow at some point as well. Or I will, and these will. And they've got videos out. Jer's done a video earlier. Lockie, Luke, and Ought to Know Better. Make sure you check it all out. It's been great tonight. Huge numbers as well. So thank you all. And we'll see you in a bit. Peace.